I'm Elena, 32 years old. 3 weeks ago, my mother-in-law called me a gold digger in front of 40 people at her birthday dinner. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just smiled, stood up, and said 5 words that made her face go white. Then I walked out. What happened next? Her screaming echoed through the entire restaurant. 3 waiters rushed over. My husband's sister started crying. His father just sat there, frozen. Because those 5 words, they changed everything. But let me tell you what makes this story really interesting. My mother-in-law, Patricia, didn't know something I'd been hiding for 7 years. Something that was about to destroy her perfect little world. Before I tell you what I said, please like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time is it there. Your support means everything. Now let me take you back 7 years, to the day I met my husband, David. I was 25. I worked as a financial analyst at a small investment firm in Chicago. Nothing fancy. I made $52,000 a year. I drove a 2009 Toyota Corolla. I lived in a studio apartment above a Chinese restaurant that smelled like dumplings 24/7. David walked into my firm for a meeting. Tall, kind eyes, great smile. We started talking. He asked me to coffee. I had no idea who he was. On our third date, he told me about his family. My parents are well off, he said. He looked uncomfortable. That's nice, I said. I didn't care. I liked him for him. My mom can be difficult, he added. She's very protective. She thinks every woman who dates me wants the family money. I laughed. Good thing I have my own money. He smiled, but his eyes looked worried. Just be patient with her, okay? I should have known right then. I should have seen the red flags waving like crazy, but I was in love. And love makes you stupid. 2 months later, David took me to meet his parents. Their house was in Winnetka. You know that area where every house looks like a museum? Yeah, that area. The driveway was longer than my entire apartment building. The house was white stone, Georgian architecture, columns, the whole thing. Like something from a movie about rich people. David's car, a Mercedes S-Class, looked tiny in front of it. We walked up to the door. It opened before we could knock. Patricia stood there, 55 years old, blonde hair in a perfect bob, Chanel suit, Hermes bag on her arm, Cartier watch, diamond earrings the size of grapes. She looked me up and down. Her eyes stopped at my shoes. Target clearance rack, $18. Her smile was ice. You must be Elena, she said. Not warm. Not welcoming, just cold. It's so nice to meet you, Mrs. Harrison, I said. I held out my hand. She shook it like she was touching garbage. Dinner was torture. The dining room had a table that sat 20 people, crystal chandelier, china plates with gold edges, 7 forks. I didn't know which one to use. David's father, Robert, was nice enough, quiet. He barely looked up from his plate. He owned a commercial real estate company. Forbes had listed him as one of Chicago's top 50 wealthiest businessmen. David's sister, Claire, was 28. Designer everything. She worked as a social media influencer, which meant she posted pictures of herself on yachts. And Patricia? She sat at the head of the table like a queen. So, Elena, she said, cutting her steak with surgical precision. David tells me you work in finance. Yes, I'm a financial analyst at— How quaint, she interrupted. And where did you go to school? University of Illinois. Her eyebrow went up, just slightly, but I saw it. State school, she said. Not a question. A judgment. David jumped in. Mom, Elena graduated top of her class. She's brilliant with numbers. Patricia smiled. I'm sure she is. But her eyes said something else. They said, You're not good enough for my son. After dinner, David and I drove back to my apartment. She'll warm up to you, he said. Just give her time. I nodded. But I knew the truth. Patricia had already decided who I was. In her mind, I was a poor girl who got lucky, a nobody trying to climb the social ladder, a gold digger, and nothing I did would ever change her mind. What I didn't know then was that Patricia had a secret, a big one, and when I found out, it would flip this entire story upside down. But I'm getting ahead of myself. David and I got engaged 6 months later. He proposed at Navy Pier. Simple, sweet, perfect. I cried happy tears. I called my mom. She cried too. Then I had to call Patricia. Hello? Her voice was flat. Hi, Mrs. Harrison. I have some exciting news. David proposed. Silence. Mrs. Harrison? I see, she finally said. Well, I suppose congratulations are in order. Click. She hung up. I stared at my phone. David saw my face. She'll come around, he said. But she didn't. The wedding planning was a nightmare. Patricia took over everything. And I mean everything. She picked the venue without asking me. The Four Seasons, $150,000 just for the location. She picked the flowers, white roses. Boring. She picked the dress designer. Some Italian guy I'd never heard of. The dress cost $25,000. I didn't even like it. Every time I suggested something, she'd smile and say, "Oh, sweetie, you don't understand how these things work. Let me handle it." David kept saying, "Just let her have this. It makes her happy." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just smiled and nodded. The wedding wasn't mine. It was Patricia's show. I was just the prop. After we got married, things got worse. David and I bought a house in Lincoln Park. Nice neighborhood, 3 bedrooms, we could afford it on our combined salaries. I'd gotten promoted. I was making $78,000 now. Patricia hated it. "This neighborhood?" she said when she visited. "David, you grew up in Winnetka. This is so urban." "We like it here, Mom," David said. She wrinkled her nose. "If you say so." Then she started showing up unannounced. She'd walk through our house, touching things, rearranging stuff. She'd open our fridge and comment on what we ate. "You're feeding my son frozen pizza," she'd say, holding up a DiGiorno box like it was evidence of a crime. "We both work long hours," I'd explain. "A good wife makes time to cook proper meals." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. The comments never stopped. At family dinners, she'd make little digs. Always with a smile. Always in front of people. "Elena, you've gained weight, haven't you?" "Marriage agrees with you, I suppose." "Elena's outfit is so interesting." Very budget conscious. "David, darling, remember when you dated that girl from the country club? What was her name?" "Madison. She was so elegant." I'd smile. I'd nod. I'd excuse myself to the bathroom and breathe. David would apologize later. "She doesn't mean it. That's just how she is." But she did mean it. Every word. 2 years into our marriage, I got pregnant. I was terrified to tell Patricia. But I had to. We went to her house for Sunday dinner. Her weekly command performance. We never missed it. "Mom, Dad," David said, holding my hand. "We have news. Elena's pregnant." Robert smiled. Actually smiled. "Congratulations, son." Patricia's fork froze halfway to her mouth. "Pregnant," she repeated. Like the word tasted bad. "Yes," I said. "We're due in December." She set down her fork. "How far along?" "8 weeks." "And you're sure?" Her eyes narrowed. "Yes, we're sure, Mom," David said. Patricia stood up. "Excuse me. I need a moment." She left the table. We heard her heels clicking down the hallway. Claire leaned over. "Don't worry. She'll be fine. She's just processing." But when Patricia came back, her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Not happy tears. Angry tears. After that night, Patricia ramped up her attacks. She started giving me parenting books. Books with titles like How Not to Ruin Your Child and Parenting for Those Who Didn't Have Good Examples. She'd say things like, "You're eating sushi. Don't you know that's dangerous for the baby?" I wasn't eating sushi. I was eating a California roll, made with cooked crab. "You're still working? At 8 months pregnant? How ambitious." She made ambitious sound like an insult. "You're not taking any prenatal classes? I suppose you think you know everything already." I was taking classes. 3 different ones. Nothing I did was right. Nothing was good enough. Our daughter, Sophie, was born on December 18th. She was perfect. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Tiny fingers. David's eyes. My nose. I'd never felt love like that before. Pure, overwhelming. Fierce. Patricia showed up at the hospital the next day. She walked in holding a massive bouquet of white roses. She barely looked at me. She went straight to the bassinet. She went straight to the bassinet. "Oh," she said, picking up Sophie. "Look at you." For a second, I thought maybe this would change things. Maybe being a grandmother would soften her. She has David's eyes, thank God. Hopefully she'll look like our side of the family. My mother was sitting in the corner. Her face went hard. David said, "Mom, that's not—" "I'm just saying," Patricia interrupted. "Good genes matter." I wanted to throw her out, but I was exhausted. I just pushed a human out of my body. I didn't have the energy to fight, so I said nothing again. Here's where the story takes a turn. When Sophie was 3 months old, I went back to work. I had to. Maternity leave was over. We had bills, a mortgage. Daycare was $2,000 a month. Patricia lost her mind. "You're abandoning your daughter?" she said at Sunday dinner. "David, did you know about this?" "Elena and I both work, Mom," David said. "It's 2019. That's normal." "Normal for who?" "Not for our family. I stayed home with you and Claire. A mother's place is with her children. We can't afford for me to stay home," I said quietly. Patricia's eyes flashed. Can't afford? David makes plenty of money. We have expenses because you insisted on that house in that neighborhood, she snapped. If you'd let us help you buy something appropriate, you wouldn't have this problem. I took a breath. We don't want financial help. We want to build our life ourselves. She laughed. How noble. How very middle class of you. But then something changed. About a month later, Patricia called David. I want to help with Sophie, she said. I'll pay for a nanny. The best money can buy. That way Elena can work, and Sophie will have proper care. David was thrilled. See, I told you she'd come around. I was suspicious. Why now? Maybe she finally sees how hard we're working, he said. So we agreed. Patricia hired a nanny. Maria, sweet woman, former kindergarten teacher. Sophie loved her. Patricia paid Maria's salary, $4,000 a month, just like that. I should have been grateful, but something felt off. Then Patricia started asking for things. I'm paying for Sophie's care, she'd say, so I should have input on her schedule. I think Sophie should learn French. I'll hire a tutor. I'm paying for everything else, after all. I don't like those clothes you bought her. I'll pick up some things from Neiman Marcus. Don't worry, I'll pay. Slowly, piece by piece, she was taking over our daughter's life. Things came to a head when Sophie turned 2. Patricia wanted to throw her a birthday party at the country club with 100 guests. She's 2, I said. She won't even remember it. I'll remember it, Patricia said, and so will everyone else. The Harrisons don't do small parties. But I already planned something, I said. A small party at our house, her friends from daycare, pizza, cake, cake, simple. Patricia's face went cold. You're being selfish, she said. This party is my gift to my granddaughter. Are you really going to deny her that? David sided with his mother. It's just one party, Elena. Let her do this. So I gave in. Again, the party was insane. Ponies, a magician, a balloon artist, catered food, a 3-tier cake. Sophie cried the whole time. Too many people, too much noise, too overwhelming. I picked her up and took her inside. She fell asleep on my shoulder. Patricia found us. What are you doing? People are asking where the birthday girl is. She's exhausted, I whispered. Let her sleep. You're coddling her. This is why you need help raising her. You don't understand how to prepare a child for society. That's when something inside me cracked. Patricia, I said, standing up carefully so I wouldn't wake Sophie, I need to tell you something. What? She crossed her arms. I know what you're doing. You're trying to control our lives by paying for things. You think money gives you power over us. Her eyes went sharp. I'm trying to help. No, you're trying to make me feel small, like I'm not good enough, like I'll never be good enough. If the shoe fits, I'm done, I said. My voice was shaking but steady. I'm done pretending. I'm done smiling while you insult me. I'm done. You're done. You should be thanking me. Without my help, you'd be struggling. You'd be feeding my granddaughter fast food and dressing her in Walmart clothes. Get out, I said. Excuse me? This is my house. Get out. Patricia left. She called David immediately. He came home early from work. We had our first real fight. You kicked my mother out? She was insulting me in our home, David. In front of our daughter, she's just trying to help. She's trying to control us. Can't you see that? He ran his hands through his hair. Elena, my mother isn't perfect, but she loves Sophie. She loves us. She doesn't love me. That's not true. David, she's called me middle class, unrefined, and unsuitable. She said Sophie should look like your side of the family. She treats me like I'm trash she has to tolerate. You're being dramatic. Those words hit me like a slap. Dramatic. She's from a different generation. She doesn't mean... She means every word, I said, and you're too afraid to stand up to her. David's jaw tightened. That's not fair, isn't it? We didn't talk for the rest of the night. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're still with me. This story gets even crazier. I promise. The next morning, David apologized. Kind of. I'll talk to her, he said. I'll tell her to ease up, but nothing changed. Patricia just got sneakier. She'd make comments when David wasn't around. She'd text me helpful articles about parenting. She'd show up with gifts for Sophie, but nothing for me. I started dreading Sundays, started dreading seeing her. And then, one Sunday, everything exploded. But here's what Patricia didn't know. What nobody knew. I had a secret, too. A big one. See, 5 years ago, something happened. Something that changed everything about who I was, about what I could do. And I'd kept it hidden. From David. From everyone. Because I wanted our life to be real. I wanted David to love me for me, not for what I had. But Patricia was about to push me too far. And when that happened, My secret was going to come out, and it was going to destroy her. 3 weeks ago was Patricia's 62nd birthday. She wanted a big dinner, the whole family, plus her friends, her book club, her tennis partners. 40 people at Gibson's Steakhouse. Private dining room. David and I almost didn't go. We'd been fighting about his mother for months. I was exhausted, done, but David begged. It's her birthday. Please, one night. Then we can talk about setting boundaries. I agreed. For him. Only for him. We got a babysitter for Sophie. We drove to the restaurant. My stomach was in knots. The private dining room was beautiful. White tablecloths, candles everywhere, a piano player in the corner. Patricia wore a Chanel dress. Pearls. Her hair was perfect. She saw us walk in. Her smile was tight. David, darling. She kissed his cheeks. Then she looked at me. Elena, how nice of you to come. We sat down. The table was huge. Patricia sat at the head. David and I were near the middle, surrounded by her friends. Dinner started. Appetizers. Wine. Small talk. I tried to be invisible, tried to just get through it. But Patricia had other plans. After the main course, Patricia stood up. She tapped her wine glass with a fork. Everyone, thank you so much for being here tonight, she said. Her voice was warm. Charming. Birthdays are a time for reflection, for gratitude, for celebrating the people in our lives. People nodded, smiled. I'm so blessed, she continued. I have a wonderful husband, 2 beautiful children, a precious granddaughter. She looked at David. David, you've made me so proud. You're successful, kind, everything a mother could want. David smiled. Then Patricia's eyes moved to me. And David, you married. Well, you married for love. I respect that. The room got quiet. People sensed something coming. But I have to say, Patricia continued, her voice sweet as poison, it's been challenging, watching my son support someone who, well, let's just say Elena has expensive tastes for someone who came from so little. My heart stopped. Mom, David started. Patricia held up her hand. Let me finish, darling. This is important. She looked at me, right at me. Elena, I know you work hard. I know you try. But let's be honest. You married my son because he could give you a life you could never have on your own. A nice house, a nanny for your daughter, access to a world you'd only dreamed about. 40 people stared at me. You're a gold digger, sweetheart. And everyone at this table knows it. The room was silent. David's face went red. Mom, what the hell? But I held up my hand, stopped him. I stood up, slowly, calmly. Everyone watched me. Patricia smiled, victorious. She thought she'd won. I looked at her, right in the eyes. Patricia, I said. My voice was steady, quiet, but everyone heard it. I need to tell you something. Oh? She raised an eyebrow. I smiled. I'm not a gold digger. Of course you'd say that. I'm your landlord. The words hung in the air. Patricia's smile froze. What? I'm your landlord, I repeated. I own the building your penthouse is in. I've owned it for 6 years. Patricia's face went white, then red, then white again. That's ridiculous, she stammered. Is it? I pulled out my phone. Pulled up documents. Here's the deed. Registered to Harrison Property Holdings LLC, my company. I bought the building in 2017 for $8.4 million. You signed a lease that same year. Rent is $12,000 a month. You've never missed a payment. I held up my phone, showed her the screen. Patricia grabbed it. Her hands were shaking. David was staring at me. Elena, what? Let me explain, I said. I looked around the room. 40 pairs of eyes. 7 years ago, my grandmother died. She left me everything. Her real estate portfolio. 12 buildings across Chicago. Worth about $40 million at the time. Gasps. Actual gasps. I was 25, I continued. I didn't want people to know. I wanted to build my own life. Make my own way. So I kept working. Kept living in my studio apartment. Kept driving my old car. I managed the properties quietly, through an LLC. Nobody knew. Patricia was frozen, staring at the phone. When I met David, I said, looking at my husband, I fell in love with you. Not your money, not your family. You. I never told you about my inheritance because I wanted you to love me for me, not for what I had. David's mouth was open. You're a millionaire, multi-millionaire, I corrected. It's worth about $65 million now. Patricia finally found her voice. You've been lying this whole time. I haven't lied about anything, I said calmly. I just didn't advertise my finances. Kind of like how you didn't advertise that you and Robert have been living beyond your means for the last 8 years. Patricia's eyes went wide. How did you? I know everything, Patricia. I know Robert's company has been struggling since 2016. I know you've been burning through your savings to maintain your lifestyle. I know you sold your summer home in Lake Geneva last year to cover debts. Robert had gone completely silent. His face was gray. I know, I continued, that you've been living off the money in your trust fund. The trust fund your mother set up for you. And that trust fund? It runs out in 3 months. Patricia grabbed the table. She actually grabbed the table for support. How do you know that? She whispered. I smiled, because my grandmother was your mother's financial advisor. She set up your trust fund. And when she died, I inherited all her clients, including your family's trust. The room exploded. People started whispering. Phones came out. Patricia's friends were texting. Patricia looked like she might faint. You, she couldn't finish the sentence. Me, I said. I've been managing your money for 6 years. The money you've been using to pay for Sophie's nanny, to throw expensive parties, to buy designer clothes and lecture me about being middle class. That money came from a trust fund I manage. David was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. Because I wanted us to be real, I said. I wanted to know you loved me for me, not for my money, not for what I could give you. But I let your mother show exactly who she is, I interrupted. For 7 years, I watched her insult me, belittle me, call me names, and I stayed quiet because I wanted to see if she'd ever change, if she'd ever see me as a person, not as a social climber, not as someone beneath her, just me. I looked at Patricia. But you never did, I said. So now you know the truth. Patricia was shaking, tears were running down her face, mascara everywhere. You, she started, you humiliated me. No, I said, you humiliated yourself. I just told the truth. In front of everyone. Like you just did to me, I asked. You called me a gold digger in front of 40 people. I corrected you. That's all. It's exactly the same, I said. Except my version is true. Patricia looked around the room. Her friends wouldn't meet her eyes. Her book club members were whispering. Her tennis partners looked shocked. I need to go, she said. She grabbed her purse. Her hands were shaking so bad she dropped it. Twice. Robert stood up. Patricia, don't, she snapped. She looked at me one more time. Her eyes were full of hate. This isn't over. Yes, I said quietly. It is. Patricia practically ran out of the restaurant. Robert followed her. So did Claire, but not before she stopped next to me. I'm sorry, Claire whispered. I'm so sorry. I didn't know about any of it. Then she left too. The room was still silent. I looked at David. We should go. Lel and I. Not here, I said. Let's go home. We left. The whole drive home was silent. When we got inside, David just stood in the living room. Why didn't you tell me? He finally asked. Would it have changed anything? I asked back. I don't know. Maybe. Yes, I don't know. Exactly, I said. You don't know. Neither do I. That's why I didn't say anything. I wanted our relationship to be real, based on who we are, not what we have. David sat down, put his head in his hands. My mother, he said, God, she's been horrible to you. Yes. And I let her. Yes. He looked up at me. I'm sorry. Elena, I'm so sorry. I sat down next to him. I know. What happens now? He asked. I took a breath. Now? I'm cutting off Patricia's allowance. The next morning, I called my lawyer. I want Patricia Harrison out of my building, I said. Legally. Properly. But I want her out. She has a lease, my lawyer said. It's not up for another 18 months. Check the lease, I said. Section 7, paragraph 3. There's a clause about conduct unbecoming a tenant. Specifically, harassment of the property owner. My lawyer was quiet for a minute. You put that in? My grandmother taught me to protect myself, I said. Always. Okay, he said. I'll send the eviction notice today. Make it official, I said. 30 days. Then I called the trust fund administrator. I'm terminating Patricia Harrison's monthly distributions, I said, effective immediately. Can I ask why conflict of interest? I said. She's family now. It's inappropriate. The administrator paused. The trust terms allow for that. I'll process the paperwork. That afternoon, Patricia called. I didn't answer. She called again and again, 7 times. Finally, I picked up. What? I said. You can't do this, she screamed. You can't evict me. You can't cut off my money. I can, I said calmly, and I did. This is revenge. This is consequences, I interrupted. You spent 7 years making me feel worthless. You called me names. You tried to control my life, my daughter, my marriage. And you did it all while living on money I managed. Money I could have cut off at any time. You wouldn't dare. I already did, I said. You have 30 days to find a new place to live. And your monthly distributions from the trust? Gone. You'll get the balance when the trust terminates in 3 months. That's it. Silence. Then crying. Actual sobbing. You're destroying me, she whispered. No, I said. I'm just not supporting you anymore. There's a difference. I hung up. Claire called me 2 days later. Can we meet? She asked. Just you and me. We met at a coffee shop. She looked tired, no makeup, hair in a ponytail. I'd never seen her like that. I'm sorry, she said immediately, for everything, for not standing up to Mom, for letting her treat you like that. Why didn't you? I asked. Claire looked down at her coffee. Because she treated me the same way, just different. She controlled my life, my clothes, my job, my friends, everything. I was scared if I stood up to her, she'd cut me off. She doesn't have any money to cut you off with, I said gently. Claire laughed. Bitter. I know that now. Dad told me everything. They're broke. Completely broke. They've been pretending for years. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be, Claire said. You freed me. You showed me who she really is, what she's capable of. I needed to see that. She reached across the table, touched my hand. Thank you, she said, for being strong enough to stand up to her. I never was. 2 weeks later, I went to visit my grandmother's grave. She's buried in Graceland Cemetery, a simple headstone, no fancy angels or monuments. Just her name, and a quote she loved. Know your worth and add tax. I sat down on the grass next to her grave. Hey, Grandma, I said. I did something crazy. I told her everything. About Patricia, about the dinner, about finally telling the truth. You always said I should stand up for myself, I continued. You said people will treat you however you let them. I finally listened. The wind blew. Trees rustled. Patricia's moving out next week, I said. She found a 2-bedroom apartment in Schaumburg. Nothing fancy. She's furious. But she can't afford anything else. I smiled. Robert's company is going under. They're selling the Winnetka house. Claire moved into my building, actually. I gave her a good deal on a unit. She's working on becoming independent. Really independent. I touched the headstone. I wish you could have met David, I said. He's a good man. He finally sees what his mother is. He's in therapy now, working through it. We're working through it together. My voice cracked. I kept your secret for 7 years, I said, just like you asked. You told me, don't tell anyone about the money until you're sure, until you're safe, until you know they love you for you. And I didn't. But now the secret's out. And you know what? I'm okay. We're okay. I stood up, brushed grass off my jeans. Thank you, I whispered, for everything, for teaching me, for protecting me, for making sure I'd never be helpless, never be dependent, never be small. I walked back to my car. The sun was setting, the sky was pink and orange. I felt light, free. Here's what I want you to know. If you're watching this and you're being treated like you're not enough, you are enough. If someone in your life makes you feel small, worthless, invisible, they're wrong. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to accept cruelty just to keep the peace. You don't have to smile while someone destroys your spirit. I spent 7 years trying to be good enough for Patricia. I bent. I compromised. I stayed silent. And none of it mattered, because she'd already decided who I was. And nothing I did would change her mind. So I stopped trying. I told the truth. I walked away. And you can too. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have a secret empire. You just need to know your worth and refuse to accept less. Set your boundaries. Use your voice. Walk away from people who diminish you. Because here's the truth. You teach people how to treat you. And if you accept mistreatment, they'll keep giving it to you. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. Standing up to Patricia was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it was also the most freeing. Today, David and I are stronger than ever. Sophie is thriving. And I'm building a life based on truth, not pretense, not fear. Truth. Patricia? She's out of our lives. Not because I'm cruel, but because I refuse to let her cruelty define me anymore. If this story touched you, please hit that subscribe button. Check the description for more stories about finding your strength, setting boundaries, and refusing to be small. And remember, you are enough, exactly as you are. You always have been. You just needed to believe it. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm Elena, and I'm finally free.